The morning sun painted Denver International Airport in a golden glow, casting gentle shadows across the vast terminal floors. Passengers hurried about, each consumed in their own worlds, some rushing toward gates, others pausing to grab coffee or exchange goodbyes with loved ones. Amidst this ceaseless energy stood Marcus Taylor, a 17-year-old whose quiet presence and thoughtful eyes set him apart. Unlike other teens consumed by social media trends or high school dramas, Marcus harbored a unique passion: aviation. His dreams soared far above ordinary aspirations, his bedroom walls adorned not with posters of musicians or athletes, but with diagrams of aircraft cockpits and flight paths. Today was supposed to be the beginning of his greatest adventure. Marcus had been selected from hundreds of applicants for Skyline Airways' prestigious aviation career shadowing program. The program offered exceptional young people the chance to glimpse the aviation industry's inner workings, meeting pilots, air traffic controllers, and aviation professionals. Marcus had earned his place through dedication and a heartfelt essay describing his lifelong dream of becoming a commercial airline pilot. As he stood in the bustling terminal, holding his visitor badge proudly, excitement and anticipation danced in his heart. His guide, Linda Evans from Human Resources, had greeted him warmly just an hour earlier. "Marcus, we're thrilled to have you today," she said kindly. "You're going to learn so much about aviation operations firsthand. Feel free to explore the pilot's lounge until I return. I won't be long." Her smile had reassured him, leaving him confident and eager. So he made his way toward the designated lounge, fascinated by the aura of professionalism surrounding him. The pilot's lounge was comfortable and serene, a haven for pilots to unwind between flights. Marcus settled into an armchair, captivated by an aviation documentary playing on a large screen. The narrative detailed breakthroughs in aircraft engineering, tracing humanity's relentless pursuit of flight. Marcus watched intently, absorbing every fact with wonder. He imagined himself one day seated in a cockpit, charting his own course through the clouds. So immersed was he in the documentary's tale of technological triumphs, Marcus scarcely noticed the room gradually emptying as pilots departed to their assignments. Eventually, only he remained, eyes glued to the unfolding history of flight. A soft sense of belonging washed over him. Here he was, right where he had always dreamed of being, steps away from a future he desperately wanted to embrace. His reverie shattered abruptly when a sharp voice echoed through the lounge. "Excuse me, who are you and what are you doing here?" Marcus turned, startled, and found himself looking up at Captain Sandra Mitchell, a senior pilot whose authority was evident in every rigid line of her uniform. Her gaze was stern, suspicious, her eyes narrowed in clear distrust. "Ma'am, my name is Marcus Taylor," he said, rising swiftly and holding up his visitor badge. "I'm here for the aviation shadowing program. Ms. Evans from HR told me to wait here while she attends a brief meeting." Captain Mitchell scrutinized him skeptically, ignoring the credentials he extended. "You're here for the shadowing program?" she repeated incredulously, emphasizing each word as if speaking to a child caught misbehaving. "And they told you to sit here, alone? This lounge is strictly for authorized personnel." Her tone dripped with skepticism, each syllable an accusation. Marcus felt his confidence faltering. "Yes, ma'am. Ms. Evans specifically told me it was fine." Captain Mitchell stepped closer, towering over him, the sheer weight of her disbelief pushing him inwardly. She snatched the visitor badge from his hand without warning, examining it under the harsh fluorescent lights as if expecting to uncover a forgery. "This badge looks suspicious to me," she declared sharply. "You don't belong here. I'm going to call security." Panic surged through Marcus, a deep fear blossoming in his chest. The thought of security being summoned over a simple misunderstanding sent his heart racing uncontrollably. He felt an overwhelming urge to defend himself, to explain again, more clearly, but words tangled in his throat. His voice emerged small, almost pleading. "Please call Miss Evans. She'll explain everything." Captain Mitchell was already speaking into her radio, her voice authoritative, confident, and chillingly certain. Security needed immediately at the pilot's lounge. Unauthorized individual with fraudulent credentials. Fraudulent credentials. The word stung Marcus deeply. All his dreams, the efforts he'd poured into earning this opportunity, were they about to crumble beneath a baseless accusation? He had done nothing wrong, yet here he stood accused, misunderstood, stripped of his dignity in a heartbeat. Within moments, two security officers arrived, their expressions hard, faces unreadable behind professional masks. Marcus felt the room grow colder, air heavier, as he realized the magnitude of the situation. The documentary still played silently in the background, its images of pioneers conquering the skies mocking the unfolding drama. Captain Mitchell addressed the officer sharply. "I found this young man sitting here alone. He claims he's part of our shadowing program, but his credentials look forged. He's unauthorized and needs immediate removal." The officers regarded Marcus cautiously, suspicion clouding their eyes. "Young man," one began sternly, "explain why you're in this restricted area." Marcus took a shaky breath, emotions swirling within him, confusion, fear, sadness, anger. Yet he spoke clearly, honestly. "My name is Marcus Taylor. Miss Linda Evans from HR brought me here. She said it was okay to wait. I didn't know this was restricted. Please just call her. She'll clear this up." Captain Mitchell scoffed quietly, shaking her head in dismissal. "These kids always have an excuse," she murmured. Her judgmental tone hurt worse than her words. It carried the sting of assumptions Marcus had encountered before, biases he desperately hoped wouldn't follow him into his dreams. One officer hesitated slightly, perhaps sensing Marcus's sincerity yet protocol dictated caution. "We'll need you to come with us for further questioning. If your story checks out, you'll be fine." Marcus's heart sank lower, dread filling his soul. Further questioning implied suspicion, wrongdoing, guilt. This incident, no matter how innocently he'd entered the lounge, could follow him forever, undermining his future ambitions. His voice quivered as he tried one final time, desperation coloring his tone. "Could I please just call my mom? She'll clear everything up." The officer hesitated again, then nodded reluctantly. Marcus quickly dialed his mother's number, fingers trembling. "Mom," he whispered urgently, tears threatening his composure. "There's a misunderstanding at the airport. They don't believe I'm authorized to be here." His mother's calming voice steadied him slightly, her immediate assurance giving him hope. "Stay calm, Marcus. I'm coming right now." As Marcus ended the call, Captain Mitchell's disdainful voice pierced again, this time addressing nearby colleagues who had gathered. "This is exactly why vigilance matters. Unauthorized people think they can slip in anywhere. It's a security threat waiting to happen." Marcus felt humiliation engulf him like a suffocating wave. He stood in silent anguish, eyes lowered, aware of the judgmental gazes around him. He wondered bitterly, would they treat him this way if he looked different? If assumptions weren't made so quickly? Minutes passed like hours. Marcus stood quietly, shoulders slumped in painful defeat. Then, without warning, the terminal's atmosphere subtly shifted. Conversations halted abruptly. Whispers cascaded through the hallways. Marcus glanced up to see an imposing group approaching, led by a woman whose determined stride commanded instant respect. His heart leaped. His mother, Victoria Taylor, CEO and owner of Skyline Airways. Her presence radiated undeniable authority. The realization dawned on the gathered crowd, spreading rapidly, leaving astonishment in its wake. Victoria crossed the room swiftly, her expression fiercely protective, her voice authoritative yet calm. "Marcus," she said gently, enveloping him in a reassuring embrace, "it's going to be all right. I'm here now." She turned slowly, fixing Captain Mitchell with a cold, penetrating stare. Mitchell stood speechless, her confident demeanor evaporating rapidly beneath Victoria's scrutiny. "Captain Mitchell," Victoria said firmly, her voice carrying the unmistakable weight of absolute authority. "This young man you've publicly accused is my son, and I assure you he is exactly where he belongs." In the charged silence that followed, Marcus felt relief flood him, mingled with profound gratitude. But deeper within, questions lingered. What if he hadn't been Victoria Taylor's son? Would anyone have stood up for him? The thought troubled him profoundly, even amidst the joy of vindication. Victoria continued quietly yet firmly. "This misunderstanding is unacceptable, and it reveals deeper issues we must confront." Marcus, standing at his mother's side, felt a newfound resolve forming. The misunderstanding had been painful, yes, but it ignited something crucial within him. A commitment not just to achieve his dreams, but to help create a world where dignity, fairness, and understanding reigned, ensuring no one else would endure such needless pain again. As the afternoon sun cast elongated shadows across the terminals of Skyline Airways, a sense of quiet unease hung heavily within the spacious conference room. Victoria Taylor stood calmly at the head of the sleek mahogany table, her presence both reassuring and authoritative. The faces around her, executives, human resource managers, and senior pilots, reflected varying degrees of anxiety and curiosity, fully aware that the discussions unfolding in the next few hours would shape the future trajectory of the airline's culture. Victoria opened her notes slowly, deliberately, ensuring every action communicated both her seriousness and compassion. She had navigated turbulent skies in her life, both literally as a pilot and metaphorically as a female executive breaking barriers in aviation. But today was unique. It wasn't just about policy. It was about protecting human dignity, restoring trust, and ensuring no one else would experience the pain her son, Marcus, had endured. "Before we begin," Victoria started gently, her voice clear yet empathetic, "I want to acknowledge the courage it takes to confront our shortcomings as an organization. Change begins with honesty. Today, we're here not merely to address an incident, but to fully understand how it happened and ensure it never happens again." At the mention of the incident, a ripple of quiet discomfort spread across the room. Captain Sandra Mitchell sat toward the end of the table, shoulders tense, eyes cast downward, clearly reflecting on her role in the event. Across from her, Linda Evans, Marcus's guide on that fateful day, fidgeted nervously with her pen, regret etched deeply into her expression. Victoria paused briefly, letting her words resonate. Then, with a tone of compassion rather than accusation, she continued, "Captain Mitchell, would you like to share your perspective first?" Sandra inhaled deeply, visibly steeling herself. When she finally spoke, her voice quivered slightly with emotion. "Ms. Taylor, first, I want to reiterate my sincere apologies, not just to you and Marcus, but to everyone here. What occurred was a severe misjudgment on my part. But beyond that, I've spent the last several days reflecting deeply on my actions." She glanced up, making direct eye contact with Victoria for the first time since entering the room. "The reality is, I allowed implicit bias to influence my judgment. It wasn't conscious, but perhaps that's the most troubling part. It made me realize how deeply ingrained these assumptions can be, even when we believe ourselves to be fair-minded." Victoria nodded thoughtfully. "Thank you for your honesty, Captain Mitchell. Your willingness to reflect openly is precisely what we need if we're to make meaningful progress," Sandra continued, her voice steadier now. "Marcus's words that day stayed with me. He said something critical, that I didn't just question his badge, I questioned his dignity and dreams. That resonated profoundly because, as a senior pilot, I've always prided myself on mentoring young aviators, guiding their careers, never intending harm. Yet, my actions contradicted those intentions completely. Around the table, heads nodded quietly. A collective acknowledgement that this wasn't simply about individual actions, it was systemic, cultural, deeply rooted in unconscious bias. Victoria turned toward Linda Evans gently. Linda, from your perspective, what could we, as an organization, have done differently? Linda hesitated briefly, her voice soft but clear. Ms. Taylor, honestly, I've asked myself that repeatedly. Looking back, my first error was leaving Marcus unattended in the lounge without clearly communicating his presence to everyone. But deeper than that, I assumed he'd be safe, because I trusted our environment implicitly. Linda's eyes grew misty, betraying her genuine regret. I realize now that assumption was naive. The truth is, we need clearer procedures, explicit communication protocols, and above all, deeper training on recognizing and combating implicit bias. Victoria listened attentively, her demeanor calm yet resolute. The insights from her team were valuable precisely because they acknowledged uncomfortable truths, truths that laid bare the gaps and vulnerabilities within Skyline Airways' approach to diversity and inclusion. As the discussion continued, one of the HR executives, James Monroe, raised his hand cautiously. Ms. Taylor, may I? Victoria gestured warmly, encouraging him to speak. Of course, James. James spoke carefully, each word considered. This incident highlighted a troubling blind spot in our diversity training. Most employees have completed standard compliance modules, but clearly, as Captain Mitchell and Linda pointed out, compliance isn't enough. Real inclusion requires ongoing education, dialogue, and self-reflection. He paused briefly, then added passionately, I suggest we overhaul our diversity initiative, not just revising our training, but creating opportunities for honest conversations about race, bias, and privilege. Let's invite guest speakers who've experienced discrimination firsthand. Let's listen deeply. I believe this can lead us toward genuine cultural change. Victoria smiled slightly, a warmth lighting her eyes as she recognized the sincerity in James's proposal. Thank you, James. That's precisely the depth of commitment I was hoping for today. Captain Mitchell leaned forward, visibly moved. I fully support that idea. Marcus's experience has opened my eyes, painfully so, to how much more work I need to do personally. I believe these types of dialogues can truly help us all grow. Victoria nodded appreciatively. We will implement this, starting immediately. And I'd like Marcus himself, if he's willing, to be part of these conversations, not just as someone affected, but as someone whose courage inspired us to act. A murmur of agreement filled the room, reflecting collective enthusiasm for genuine change. Victoria felt a quiet pride, not just as Marcus's mother, but as a leader witnessing authentic transformation among her team. The remainder of the meeting unfolded with remarkable openness, honesty, and vulnerability, qualities rarely seen in corporate settings. Individuals shared personal stories, acknowledging their own biases and blind spots. What had started as a difficult conversation evolved into a powerful moment of collective growth. As the meeting concluded, Captain Mitchell approached Victoria quietly, humility evident in her posture. Miss Taylor, thank you. I understand trust isn't regained overnight, but I genuinely want to be part of this change. Marcus has taught me a valuable lesson. I'm determined never to repeat my mistakes. Victoria placed a comforting hand on Sandra's arm, her voice gentle yet firm. Captain Mitchell, growth happens precisely when we're willing to confront our mistakes and commit to change. I believe your sincerity. Let's ensure our actions align with our intentions moving forward. Hours later, Sitting quietly in her office overlooking the bustling airport runway, Victoria reflected deeply. She recognized clearly the profound turning point that had occurred today, not merely within the airline, but within herself and her team. Marcus's painful experience had triggered a necessary reckoning, igniting a resolve among her staff to dismantle biases long ignored or overlooked. Marcus himself entered quietly, noticing the thoughtful expression on his mother's face. "Mom, how did it go?" Victoria smiled warmly, inviting him to sit. "Marcus, your courage inspired remarkable honesty today. I saw people truly reflect, challenge their assumptions, and commit to meaningful change." Marcus sighed softly, visibly relieved yet contemplative. "I'm glad. Honestly, that day still bothers me, but knowing something good might come from it helps." Victoria reached out, gently holding her son's hand. "Change is often painful, Marcus, but it's necessary. Your bravery ensured we won't ignore difficult truths any longer. And who knows, perhaps your courage will inspire broader conversations beyond our airline." Marcus nodded thoughtfully, recognizing for the first time the broader implications of his experience. "I hope so, Mom. If telling my story helps others, it's worth it." Victoria squeezed his hand reassuringly, her gaze filled with love and admiration. "Marcus, you've already changed lives, including mine. Together, let's continue advocating for fairness and respect, making sure this turning point becomes lasting transformation." Outside, planes ascended gracefully into twilight skies, symbolizing limitless possibilities and journeys yet to unfold. Inside Victoria's office, a mother and son, bound by love and now united by shared purpose, quietly resolved to ensure that this difficult turning point would lead to lasting, meaningful change, not just within their airline, but in the hearts and minds of everyone they touched along the way. In the soft glow of early morning sunlight, the main terminal of Skyline Airways buzzed gently with quiet energy. The Grand Hall, bathed in shades of gold and amber, seemed to breathe with anticipation as passengers hurried toward gates and departures echoed softly overhead. Yet amidst the familiar rhythm, there was something subtly transformed, something intangible, but profound that resonated far beyond the airport's physical boundaries. Marcus Taylor stood near the towering windows of Gate A12, his eyes following the graceful ascent of an aircraft as it pierced through layers of cotton-like clouds. The sight was captivating, but today his thoughts soared even higher, reflecting on the dramatic changes that had unfolded within his own life, and indeed the entire culture of Skyline Airways in recent months. Today was a special day, not merely because Marcus was now formally enrolled in the Skyline Airways Youth Aviation Mentorship Program, but because today signified a powerful new beginning. His experience had been the catalyst for deep introspection and courageous dialogue, prompting a broader commitment to equity and empathy that permeated every corridor and conference room of the airline. Marcus glanced toward the gate area, where a diverse group of teenagers had gathered, eyes bright with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Each held a lanyard, similar to the one he had proudly worn before, now bearing the unmistakable blue and silver colors of Skyline Airways. They whispered animatedly amongst themselves, sharing dreams of futures yet unwritten, unaware of how deeply their journey had already been shaped by Marcus's own. Victoria Taylor approached quietly, standing beside her son, her eyes warm with pride and tenderness. For a moment they watched together in silence, mother and son united in quiet reflection. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her voice soft but resolute. "Look at them, Marcus. Each one represents hope, proof of what can happen when we choose to confront difficult truths and move forward together." Marcus nodded slowly, appreciating the full weight of her words. "Honestly, Mom, it's still a little surreal. All these months later, sometimes I still find myself questioning if what happened was real, or if the change we're seeing is truly lasting. Victoria turned toward him, her eyes serious yet comforting. Change is always fragile at first, but I see genuine transformation happening, not just in policies or procedures, but in people's hearts and minds. What you experienced forced us all to face something uncomfortable yet essential. It reminded us that dignity and respect aren't privileges, they're fundamental rights. Their conversation was momentarily interrupted by a warm voice from behind. Captain Amara Harris, whose steady leadership and genuine kindness had earned Marcus's deep admiration, approached with a welcoming smile. She was impeccably dressed in her pilot's uniform, her presence commanding yet approachable. Marcus, Victoria, good morning, she greeted them warmly, shaking Marcus's hand firmly before giving Victoria an affectionate embrace. It's wonderful seeing you both here today. Marcus, you've become a genuine inspiration to these young people, even if you don't fully realize it yet. Marcus felt a gentle warmth rising in his chest at her words. Thank you, Captain Harris. But really, I just wanted something positive to come from everything that happened. Captain Harris nodded with understanding. And it has, far more than you may ever know. Sometimes we can't control the challenges we face, but we can choose our responses. Your courage helped spark conversations long overdue. She glanced toward the gathered teens. You gave these students a clearer path forward. They now have the opportunity to pursue their dreams free from fear or prejudice, knowing they're supported by an organization committed to true inclusion. Marcus smiled, humbled by her sincere appreciation. That means a lot, Captain. The announcement system chimed softly overhead, calling the mentorship participants toward the boarding area. Victoria squeezed Marcus's shoulder gently. You'd better go. They're waiting for you. Marcus stepped forward to join Captain Harris, who introduced him warmly to the group. As he approached, the teenagers grew quiet, their eyes filled with a blend of curiosity and admiration. Marcus addressed them confidently yet humbly, fully aware that his words carried weight beyond himself. Good morning, everyone. My name's Marcus Taylor, and I'm honored to be here today, joining you as part of Skyline's Youth Mentorship Program. Aviation has always been a passion for me, as it clearly is for all of you. But recent experiences taught me something important, that passion alone isn't enough. We also need courage, compassion, and above all, community. The students listened intently, captivated by Marcus's sincerity and presence. He continued thoughtfully, his voice steady but carrying genuine emotion. Many of us face obstacles, not always obvious or easy to discuss, but when we support each other, when we choose understanding over judgment, those obstacles become stepping stones rather than barriers. Captain Harris watched Marcus speak with quiet pride. Victoria stood off to the side, deeply moved by the sight of her son stepping so confidently into a leadership role he'd never anticipated but had unquestionably earned. The atmosphere was charged with quiet intensity, a powerful collective understanding passing among them. This moment was about far more than aviation. It was about humanity, about choosing consciously, every day, to value dignity and empathy above prejudice or fear. After Marcus concluded his speech, the students broke into spontaneous applause, their faces shining with inspiration and excitement. As they began boarding the aircraft for their introductory flight experience, Captain Harris placed a reassuring hand on Marcus's shoulder. Marcus, she said quietly, I'm proud of you, not just for speaking up today, but for refusing to let adversity define you. You've reminded us all what true courage looks like. Marcus exhaled slowly, feeling deeply validated by her words. Thank you, Captain Harris. It's just amazing seeing something positive finally come from everything. Indeed, she agreed warmly. And remember, this is just the beginning. Our journey toward real equity and fairness continues every single day. The flight itself was a transformative experience. As the aircraft climbed smoothly above the clouds, Marcus glanced around at the diverse group of aspiring aviators, their faces alight with awe and wonder. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a tangible realization that his pain had not been in vain. Instead, it had sparked genuine, lasting change, a powerful testament to resilience and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Hours later, after returning to the terminal, Marcus found Victoria waiting near the gate, her expression thoughtful yet joyful. Together they walked slowly toward the main concourse, their conversation reflective and profound. "Mom," Marcus began quietly, "I realize now how much bigger this all is. It wasn't just about my experience. It's about making sure no one else has to go through the same thing. And knowing I could help start that conversation means everything." Victoria smiled warmly, pride evident in her eyes. "Marcus, you've shown extraordinary grace under pressure. Watching you today, I realize something deeply important. Sometimes it's the most challenging experiences that reveal our true character. You've become someone whose voice matters immensely." As they walked together toward the exit, Marcus noticed a poster displayed prominently on the wall of the terminal. It featured Captain Harris standing proudly alongside a diverse group of pilots, flight attendants, mechanics, and other employees beneath a powerful slogan: "Every sky, every dream, belonging takes flight at Skyline Airways." Marcus paused briefly, the words resonating profoundly. Victoria followed his gaze, smiling knowingly. "That message," Victoria reflected softly, "is thanks to your courage. It's a promise we're making to future generations, not just words on a poster, but an authentic commitment to meaningful change." Marcus nodded slowly, feeling deeply grateful and profoundly humbled. "It's a powerful message, Mom, one I'll always carry with me." They exited the terminal into the bright afternoon sunlight, the warmth gentle against their faces, symbolic of the new beginning stretching ahead. Victoria wrapped an arm around Marcus's shoulder affectionately. "You know, Marcus," she began thoughtfully, "the journey you started isn't easy. There will still be challenges, setbacks, and resistance. But if you continue using your voice, inspiring others with your courage and resilience, I genuinely believe we can make aviation and the world a more welcoming place for everyone." Marcus considered her words carefully, determination strengthening in his chest. "I want to keep speaking up, Mom, not just for myself, but for everyone who dreams of flying free from fear or prejudice." Victoria smiled gently, squeezing his shoulder lovingly. "Then that's exactly what you should do. Because Marcus, your voice matters deeply, not only within our family or this airline, but far beyond it. Keep speaking, keep inspiring, and keep reaching for new horizons. The world needs your courage." Yet together, mother and son walked forward, bound by love and united by shared purpose. Above them, another aircraft soared gracefully into limitless skies. A quiet yet profound reminder that dreams, like horizons, stretch endlessly ahead, waiting patiently for those courageous enough to pursue them. It was supposed to be just another sunny afternoon at Skyline Airways. Marcus Taylor stood at the entrance of Gate A12, ready to greet the latest group of eager students joining the Skyline Youth Aviation Mentorship Program. Today, his role had evolved. He was no longer the nervous participant, but instead a confident mentor, guiding younger dreamers toward their goals. Yet as the morning sun bathed the bustling airport in its familiar golden glow, dark clouds gathered in the distance, both literally and metaphorically, threatening the calm serenity Marcus had fought so hard to achieve. Just as Marcus began briefing the students, a sudden commotion erupted near the security checkpoint. Voices raised, footsteps hurried, and a ripple of tension washed over the terminal. Marcus glanced anxiously toward the disturbance, recognizing his mother, Victoria Taylor, moving swiftly in his direction, Her usually composed face betrayed deep concern. "Marcus, there's been an emergency." Victoria spoke quietly but urgently, pulling him aside from the curious eyes of the students. Flight 517, piloted by Captain Amara Harris, has encountered severe turbulence over the mountains and lost communication. It was supposed to land here an hour ago, but nobody's heard from them. Marcus felt as if the floor beneath him had vanished. His mind raced with fear and disbelief. Captain Harris, the woman who had stood by him in his darkest moments, who had guided him with unwavering support, was now facing a crisis of her own. He stared at his mother, his voice barely above a whisper. "What can we do? Is there anything?" Victoria placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, trying to steady both herself and her son. "They're doing everything possible. Emergency crews are on standby, rescue teams have already been dispatched, and the entire Skyline family is working tirelessly to locate the plane. But I wanted you to know first, before news spreads." Marcus felt a wave of helplessness wash over him, but as he glanced back toward the group of young students awaiting his return, he realized something vital. This was a defining moment. He couldn't let fear paralyze him. Not now, not in front of these young dreamers who looked to him for guidance. Taking a deep breath, Marcus turned back to his mother. "We need to stay strong, for the students, for Captain Harris, for everyone counting on us. Let me talk to them. They deserve honesty." Victoria's eyes filled with pride, even amidst her worry. "Go ahead, Marcus. They trust you." Marcus returned to the students, carefully choosing his words, his voice steady yet carrying the emotional weight of the situation. "I have to share something difficult with all of you. Captain Harris, who many of you met earlier, is currently dealing with an emergency mid-flight. The airline and emergency teams are doing everything they can to ensure her safe return. Right now, we need to stay calm, hopeful, and strong for her and for each other." The students exchanged anxious glances, their youthful excitement quickly overshadowed by concern. Marcus could see doubt creeping into their expressions, fears he had once experienced himself. Sensing their vulnerability, he stepped forward, speaking with genuine conviction. "Captain Harris taught me something important. That courage isn't about never feeling afraid, but about facing our fears head on. We have to believe in her skills and the team supporting her." His words resonated deeply, restoring a sense of hope and purpose within the group. Marcus realized in that moment how powerful honesty and compassion could be, especially in times of uncertainty. Yet privately, his own heart still raced with anxiety for Captain Harris. As minutes dragged into tense hours, Marcus joined his mother and the senior Skyline Airways team in the operations center. Multiple screens displayed maps, radar images, and communication logs as specialists worked frantically to reestablish contact. Victoria, the calm and assured CEO, had become a beacon of strength, issuing directives, comforting staff, and coordinating seamlessly with rescue authorities. Finally, after nearly 3 agonizing hours, a static-filled radio transmission broke through the tense silence, filling the room with cautious optimism. Captain Harris's voice, though strained, carried clearly enough for everyone to hear. "Skyline Operations. This is Captain Harris, aboard Flight 517. We've stabilized the aircraft and regained limited communication. Request immediate landing clearance. Multiple injuries aboard, but everyone's stable and accounted for." The relief was immediate and profound, washing through the room like a wave. Victoria quickly stepped forward, her voice composed yet filled with immense gratitude. "Captain Harris, this is Victoria Taylor. Clearance granted. Emergency teams are standing by. Welcome home." Marcus felt tears of relief sting his eyes, overwhelmed by a blend of joy, pride, and gratitude. The storm had passed, leaving behind lessons about resilience, leadership, and the enduring power of hope. When Captain Harris safely landed and was swiftly escorted to medical support, along with her passengers, Marcus was among the first to reach her side. She was visibly exhausted, yet her eyes lit up warmly upon seeing him. "Marcus," she spoke softly, "I heard about your speech to the students. Thank you for keeping their spirits up." Marcus shook his head humbly. "I only said what you taught me, to stay brave, even when it feels impossible." Captain Harris smiled gently, taking his hand briefly. "Then you've learned the most important lesson of all. Never forget this moment, Marcus. It's proof that courage, compassion, and leadership can guide us through even the darkest storms." In the aftermath of the incident, Marcus saw profound changes ripple through Skyline Airways. The company renewed its commitment to rigorous emergency training, emphasizing psychological support for crew and passengers alike. Marcus himself became instrumental in these initiatives, advocating passionately for resilience training that addressed not just physical but emotional readiness. The youth mentorship program gained renewed vigor, inspired by Marcus's unwavering dedication. Enrollment soared as young people saw in Marcus a real-life example of leadership in action, someone who had faced fears openly and emerged stronger for it. Months later, during a special company-wide event honoring bravery and excellence, Marcus stood beside Captain Harris on stage, receiving an award for leadership and courage under pressure. The room erupted in applause, echoing not merely approval, but recognition of the profound transformation both Marcus and the airline had experienced. After the ceremony, Victoria approached Marcus, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "I'm proud of you, Marcus, not just for today, but for every day you choose to stand up, speak truth, and inspire others. You've shown us all how adversity, when faced bravely, can lead to powerful new beginnings." Marcus embraced his mother warmly, reflecting deeply on the incredible journey they'd shared. Yet, as he looked around at the faces in the room, colleagues, mentors, students, and friends, he knew their collective journey was far from over. There were more challenges to face, more horizons to explore, and more dreams to nurture. Turning toward the camera crew recording the event, Marcus spoke directly into the lens, reaching out to all who had witnessed his story unfold. "If this story has inspired you, if you believe in courage, compassion, and the power of resilience, I encourage you to join us on this journey. Subscribe to our channel, support our mission, and help us continue sharing meaningful stories that inspire hope and change. Your support means the world, and it empowers us to reach even higher, face new challenges, and keep dreaming big, together." Marcus's voice echoed gently through the quiet room, resonating deeply within the hearts of all present. It was a call to action, a promise of hope, and a commitment to keep reaching for the sky, no matter what storms might arise.